I was asked a fantastic question. Smitty, these struggling wide receivers, DeAndre Hopkins, Mike Evans, Davante Adams, Odell Beckham JuJu, and JuJu Smith-Schuster, will any of these guys, or all of them, return to top 10 wide receiver status? And can any one of them be a top 1 to 5 wide receiver? Let's get into my answer. Top 5 running back. You're watching the Fantasy Football Show. The easy answer here is DeAndre Hopkins. Hopkins is in a potent offense. He is a quarterback that's arguably number 2 overall, only behind Pat Mahomes. That offense isn't struggling. Watson isn't struggling. The targets and volume will be there for DeAndre Hopkins. It would be different if his situation was much like that of JuJu's, where you have this QB carousel of garbage going on and you're worried about when's Mason Rudolph going to return to the lineup. I'll get to JuJu in a minute, but Hopkins to me is a locked and loaded top 1 to 5 wide receiver moving forward. He's the best wide receiver in the entire league, and he's the best fantasy wide receiver from this point moving forward. Will he catch everybody and be the number 1 fantasy wide receiver? Probably not. That's a tall order.
Anything is possible. Woo! You know?
Given the start that he's had. But what's in the past is in the past. Leave it in the past and know that this is football, not baseball, where your average is what your average is. In baseball, you can't turn into something else once you average a certain amount of points. I don't like baseball. This is fantasy football, where in the final 6 weeks, 7 weeks, you could be the number 1 wide receiver, the number 1 running back. It doesn't matter what you've done in the previous weeks.
Martha dump truck in the flesh.
Here comes the cutie squad.
And DeAndre Hopkins is in a situation that will feed him not only wide receiver 1 work, but top 1 to 5 wide receiver stats. Go buy him. I'm buying him at every turn.
Shut up, Heather.
Sorry, Heather.
I feel like you can lump these 5 wide receivers into 2 different buckets. First, DeAndre Hopkins and Mike Evans in bucket 1, and then Davante Adams, Odell Beckham Jr., and JuJu Smith-Schuster in bucket 2. Bucket 1 being the guys that feel like almost locks to become top 10 wide receivers moving forward, or to stay in that value range. And Hopkins, again, feels like 1 to 5. Evans might rotate with Godwin, which makes him a little riskier than Hopkins to be a top 5 wide receiver, but I think he's locked and loaded overall from this point moving forward in the 5 to 7 range. They're going to throw the ball a ton, even if they're losing. Even with Winston being up and down, they'll throw a ton, and I think Mike Evans eats all year long. He just will be a little less consistent, and he'll have a big game, a mediocre game. 2 big games, a mediocre game. That's the nature of Mike Evans. That can be frustrating in head-to-head leagues, but it's pretty darn good in total point leagues. Now, bucket 2, Davante Adams, Odell Beckham Jr., and JuJu. They all have some kind of problem, injury, concern, situation. JuJu has no quarterback throwing him the football, but they have a bye week. Then Mason Rudolph might come back. I think if you can buy him at the right price, he's worth going and getting. Is he a guarantee to return to form? No. Is he ever going to earn you the value that most people paid in August? Probably not. Do I doubt him more this week than I did last week? Yes, I do. I admit it. But I still buy at flex value, wide receiver 3 value. Of course I do, because the talent is there, and Mason Rudolph is efficient enough, if he can stay healthy, to deliver the football to the tune of a wide receiver 3 easily. I think he could earn that value. Now, I get it. If you hate him, you hate him. You're probably never going to believe in him again, but he is a top 10 wide receiver in talent. He just has a really crappy situation. Odell is going to be hit and miss all year. That will be frustrating. If you could get either Odell or JuJu at the right price, get them. But if not, don't go after them at even medium or decent pricing. Buy low, buy at rock bottom prices, or don't buy at all. Now, Davante Adams, I feel, could maneuver himself into bucket 1, but because we don't know the extent of his toe injury, could he have a setback? Will it linger? Will he be hampered all year long? Are we being fed the right information, accurate news on him? We don't know yet. So that's why Adams has to stay in bucket 2. He cannot get into this bucket until we know a little bit more about his health and if he's really going to shake this injury. Turf toe lingers, so there's a good chance that he is hampered all year but still produces. We don't really know how healthy he is. We don't know to what extent this rest helped him. But out of all three of these wide receivers, Davante Adams has the most home run hitting ability for the value. Go get him at what's probably equivalent to second round type value, and I think he can explode from that, and at the very least earn you that if he doesn't return to form. I think he plays at second round wide receiver value, no question, as long as he's on the field, which is the risk and which is why he's in bucket 2. In one way, shape, or form, all these wide receivers are good buy lows. Ranking in order from how I listed them. Hopkins has the most home run hitting ability. I don't think there's a lot of risk at all with DeAndre Hopkins, and you can trade him laterally 1-for-1 for some players that rank, in my mind, a good tier below him. The same thing could be said for Adams or not, depending on the owner, the guy that owns him in your league. And the wild card moving forward is Adams. Go take a stab and trade. This was a great question I was asked, and I put it in my podcast, and I wanted to address it also in video format. Now get out there and trade. Get ready for week 7. If you're losing, go make a trade. Take destiny into your own hands. Go get one of these guys. Go get all of them. Now get to work. Top 5 running back. You're watching the Fantasy Football Show.